Everybody into the class. Please make sure you open up Brightspace. I have documents in there that we'll be using. And you should also open up PG admin and Neon Post. We're going to be continuing with additional things in there. I'll also be going over your next exam, exam 2. Today, I have posted it, but I'll go over all the details with you. All right, and I'm gonna share my screen next. All right, so you should be able to see my screen. I'm gonna go over this document in just a few minutes, and let me also update it right here. I'm going to just add this document so that you have it. It's going to be under notes, and all right. So first thing is, please make sure that you're logged in to Brightspace. You go into the content section, and you should be able to see, in addition to my basic, account setup, this is stuff I've given you before. You already have gone through this, and now I have a bunch of additional files in there. So this is what we're going to be covering today: introduction to SQL and table joins. We are going to go to this handout after that. So this is continuation of chapters 4 and 5. Sorry, 5 and 6. Chapters 5 and 6. This is what is in chapters 5 and 6. Exam 2 is in here already, and I'm going to just open it up so everybody can take a look at it. So this exam is 2.5 hours long, and I have it set up as September 15th, and that's not a mistake. That is when I had to cancel a class. So that I have to make up that class September 15th. And then on October 24th, and that also is not a mistake, that we have a class which is scheduled for Friday. And this is Friday, October 24th. So I'm scheduling it for this time period, but it's due on November 2nd. In other words, you can work on it on your own. It's not going to be like exam one where you had a short amount of time in class. This is a little bit more extensive. So you'll be able to do it on your own, approximately 2.5 hours long. But if you want to take more time, you can do so. Less time, up to you. And this will be due November 2nd. I believe that is, I'm going to just double check. Uh, oh, yeah, that's a Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And that's when it'll be due. So at the end of Sunday, that's when it's going to be due. And it gives you exact details of what you need to do. You're going to open your or set up a connection to a database, which you would have on Neon Postgres, and you're going to go through these things. And this is already in the screenshots that I've given you earlier on. Make sure that the connection is successful, and that means basically you're good to go as far as the connection string is concerned that you would be providing me. So just like the last exam, you are going to uh, enter your connection string on Brightspace, but you're going to do that at a later time. Uh, I will have you enter it right into Brightspace on an exam or on a quiz. Now, I want you to just on your own read through these instructions. But basically, you're going to be doing work, taking screenshots and pasting it into a Word document. So, and you need to make sure you also save each SQL query on Neon. And I'm going to explain that today when we go through it. But you're going to be taking screenshots, posting it on in a Word document, and then eventually you're going to take that Word document and convert it into a PDF file and upload it onto Brightspace. So it's not available yet for uploading. I'll make it available close to November 2nd. This part as well as this part. So again, read through it. We are not done completely with this topic. What's on it. So I'm going to be covering that today, and you'll understand the process. But everything is given to you in writing over here. How you have to create tables, and when you type this in, you're gonna edit a copy and run the following. This is what you're gonna put. Type in. You're gonna insert data. Again, I'm telling you what to do. You're going to run queries. And as you do each of these things, you are going to be taking screenshots. So I'm telling you again, reminding you here, take screenshot of both the query and the result. And after you've created these tables, you're going to be going through these items 1 to 7 here, and it continues here. We're going to be talking about something called joins. That will be today. And once you have that, you'll know how to do this stuff. So I'm telling you exactly what needs to be done. Your job is type it in and take screenshots that you have actually done the work. And in addition to just the screenshots, I'm also having you uh, provide me with the query string. And with the query string, I'll be able to log into your Neon Postgres and review everything. And for the query string, I'm going to go towards the end now. So I'm asking you to take a screenshot of your Neon Postgres connection string, and this thing uh, should be showing your password. So again, I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to just look through it, and any questions you can ask me as you're looking through it. And we have not done yet with that topic. I'm going into it a little bit more detail than where I thought I was going to do, because I just think it's necessary for you to understand the material properly. So look through this document. I'm going to give everybody like 2-3 minutes to ask questions, and then I'm going to move on to the actual lecture. But how, what screenshots you're going to be taking, how you're going to be entering it, I'm going to go through all of that today. And for the next several classes, basically in October, there are a lot of Jewish holidays. I will have a lot of students that are absent. So everything that I am assigning has a due date. And I'm going to open up Wiley also. So in Wiley, I have set up chapters 1, 2, and 3 homework, but I'm making them due at the end of October. And the reason again is basically because of there's several holidays in between for Jewish students, and you'll see even our schedule. Some days we are meeting on Tuesday, other days we are meeting on Fridays, but I still have students who are not going to be able to attend some of the classes. So I'm making sure that everybody's in the same boat. So if I'm going to give them extra time, the non-Jewish students also have that extra time, but everything's going to be due at this time. Please do not wait till the last minute. Things will go wrong. And if you start losing points, it will be a big deal. So far, we're going to be covering chapters 1, 2, and 3. 4 I have not yet covered, and 5 and 6 is what we have been focusing on since the beginning of the semester, which is all the databases and all that. So chapters 1, 2, and 3, I usually will go through them fairly quickly. And yes, they are important, but they are just conceptual. There's not as much involved in these 3 chapters. So each of these should be about 20 multiple choice questions that you have to do. And so it's a total of about 60. It should take you about 1 hour per chapter as far as doing the questions. And again, any questions about the second exam, you can ask me either now or next week. I believe we have a class on Tuesday and not on Monday. I'm going to stop screen share for a minute, and I just need to double check schedule for next week. Okay, so next week, we do not have a class on Monday, which is the 13th. Instead, we are going to have a class on Tuesday, which is the 14th. And same thing on the 20th, we do not have a class, but we will have the makeup class on the 24th, which is the Friday. So again, taking into account all of these, till the 24th, I have many students who are going to be absent due to religious reasons. So everything will be in the form of a handout. So if somebody asks you, they are not in the class today, tell them to go to Brightspace, and everything is up there in writing, so nobody misses anything. And I'm going to go back to my notes. So the material that I am teaching is in here, in writing, in here, in writing. So again, if somebody asks you, you can just refer them to this. Everything is in there. This is chapter 8. Do not worry about this at this stage. We have a while to go. I just posted it just because of my own notes, but really, maybe I should have even um, hidden it. You don't need it at this stage. Um, Let me just. All right. So please make sure you open up this one, which is Introduction to SQL Tables and Joins, which is right here. I'm gonna make it bigger. You can see this, and I'm gonna open it up on my end, okay? But I just want you to have this, and this is a continuation of what we've been doing with Neon Postgres. And let me open up Neon Postgres. So again, make sure you're working on the Wiley homeworks. And so um, so I have a couple of databases in here, and what I'm gonna do is just maybe uh, go in the settings, delete this one, which is called mock exam. So you should know how to delete, uh, just like we did before. So I'm gonna permanently delete this project. I'm gonna recreate it so you will know what we're doing. And even this one, I think I'm gonna end up deleting. Okay, so what you will be doing for exam 2 is you're gonna create a new project. So unlike MongoDB, where you could only create one, on Neo, you can create probably like 7, 8, and um, it's not an issue. They let you create multiple. But I deleted mine just because I didn't need them. I don't like keeping stuff. This I actually need, so I'm keeping it. But I'm going to open up a new project. This is what you would be doing. You're going to be creating it. And in your particular case, you're going to be calling it exam 2. And leave these as defaults like I told you before. And I'm gonna click on create. So once it's been created, and if you're not sure if it's been created or not, just go to your dashboard, and in here it looks like it has been created, but I'm just gonna make sure. So I go back home and I look, and it's telling me exam 2 has been created. We are not doing anything with it yet. So I'm now going to go back into it, just clicking on it. And it's saying first thing, connect to your database. And I'm going to just do that. and you're getting this connection string. You're going to say show password, and then you're going to copy this connection string. So I'm going to do that right now. So I want you to take a screenshot of your connection string with the password. This is what I'm looking for, okay? And you will open up a Word document. And you will just paste it in there, connection string. And as we're going through things, you're going to be doing a bunch of these. So you can just, I'll just put it up here that this is connection string. And this is actually one of the last parts of the exam. So, but your password must be visible. This way I can go in and see that you have actually done what you're supposed to have done. Once you're in Word, and I'm gonna just save it right now. And I'll just save it on my PC. And I'll just give it the name of exam 2 for right now. Okay. So once you have the file and you'll have a bunch of screenshots on it, then at the end, I want you to save it as PDF. And I'll just call it exam 2, but now it'll be a PDF file, or let me just call it exam 2 PDF. And I'm gonna save it. So now Word will convert it into a PDF file, and I want you to send me or upload PDF file for exam 2. I don't want you to send me a Word doc, but it's just easier to insert everything into Word and then generate a PDF file. I'm gonna close out of this. So connection string is gonna be important, and I'm gonna need my connection string to be able to use PG admin. But for right now, I'm not gonna connect to it using PG admin. I'm just gonna hold off for just a few minutes. Then I want you to look on the left side, and you will see there's what we call a SQL editor and a table. So most of the stuff you can do from an SQL editor right here. And let's take a look at the notes I have as well. So the introduction to SQL and table joins. This is a handout I have given you. Hold on, I just saw there's a problem with my screen share. Are you guys able to see my screen? No, oh yeah, I'm still getting a message now. Okay, I'm gonna stop everything and then start one more time. And give me a minute. Do not send any messages now. I'm just making sure you guys are able to see my screen. Just give me a minute. All right, so I'm going to respond to some of the questions students asked. So uh, Mogda, are you asking about the previous exam, exam one or exam two? You had a question. Let me know. Specifically, this is addressed to Mogda. Last name Shams. Are you asking about exam one or exam two? Okay, so exam one, I haven't graded yet. Once I grade it, you will know that I was connecting, not connecting, whatever the issues are. So and then give me. I'm again going through messages to just make sure. All right. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna sort of restart everything just to make sure because I'm not quite sure where I left off. So I'm gonna first go to my basically call it home page or whatever. And I had created this exam too. I'm gonna delete this out. So you go under settings, come all the way down and delete your project. So unlike MongoDB, they limit you to just one database free. You can have as many, but you have to pay for it. Neon doesn't do that. So you can have a couple of projects. You don't necessarily need to delete it. The reason I am deleting it is one, for you to know how to delete. And number two, I actually don't like having too many projects open, especially when I'm teaching. They are not real, they're just fake projects. So I delete them out. So it's telling me I can create 19 more projects. Uh, so MongoDB only allowed you really one. So I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to call it exam 2. And I'm not going to modify anything else. It's automatically Northern Virginia. Don't do anything else. So you're going to just have exam 2 and you're going to create it. So now I'm able to connect to my database once it's ready. But let's say I don't know where I am. You always can go back home and then find exam 2. And this is where we are. So for your connection string is right here. We've done this many, many times before. And you're going to make sure you show password. And then you have two choices really. You can copy the snippet and or do a screenshot. I don't care which one you do, but you're going to paste that. And that is the requirement I have for the exam. Let me bring it up. Okay. So in here, I'm saying make sure you are able to connect to your database using your connection string, and guides you, and you have screenshots in your notes for this. And what I'm doing right now is the very last thing that comes. Um, so in this section, I'm asking you, what is your Neon Postgres connection string? Take a screenshot from Neon and make sure the password is showing, or you can just copy and paste the snippet. But this is the very last thing you're going to be doing here. And you will also be submitting it to me just like you did for exam one, that I will provide you a place on Brightspace um, to enter and it shouldn't say query string, it should say connection string. I just uh, made a mistake because, you're doing queries with it, but I really wanted to call it connection string. And I'll probably update the document to just reflect that. So, but this part you're going to be doing later on. So I'm going to get out of this. And I want to just focus on this one now. So I'm teaching you some new material, and this material you will need in order to be able to do the exam. Uh, so we are now discussing something called SQL, and it stands for structured. Let me start off here. It stands for structured query language. And give me 1 second. Let me pull up. What I want to be able to do is just um, I just want to be able to do this outside of Brightspace. And you can also do the same thing. You can just download it, but it just makes it a little bit easier for me to go back and forth between documents. Okay, so structured query language, it's a language used to communicate with databases. And this is basically how you are going to get answers from your data. How you get answers, but it's not just get answers, but you can also create tables, do many things that before we were doing using PG admin. So this allows you to do a lot of the stuff uh, programmatically. You don't have to use something like PG admin, and it comes in handy. Basic structure of SQL is just like this, that you're going to have a select statement, a column from table name, where condition, and this is just a generic way of doing it, and I'm going to explain it in more detail as we actually go on. So let's start off with some examples, which is what we have here. And I need to make sure I'm gonna just go back in here, and I'm gonna be bringing this document up next. So this one and this one, they go hand in hand, and this is what I'm covering. And when you're in here, and I wanna be, I'm gonna be going through I'm going to be explaining these concepts of primary key, secondary key. But first, what I would just want to do is create a table to sort of explain what's going on. Once you do it hands-on, it generally becomes a little bit easier for you to do things. So if you want, you can copy it from here all the way up to just this part. And then we're going to go into Neon console. And right now I don't need my connection string, so I'm going to get out of that. On the left side, I'm going to find this thing called SQL editor. And I'm going to go in there. SQL editor allows us to create tables, modify them, enter data, etc. without having to use pgadmin. You can use pgadmin as well, but this is how I want you to be doing it. So here I'm gonna go and paste my query. So it's saying create table called accounts. That's the name I'm giving my table. And then I have a bunch of columns that I'm creating. So once I do this, I can click run, and it is gonna tell me if it worked or did not work. Executed successfully, that's good. So the fact that I did this, and if you do this, you will find in your, on the left side, you had SQL editor and then you have tables. Let's go into tables. So in tables, and it's taking a little bit of time for it to refresh, we have just created a table called accounts. So table is equivalent to collections that we talked about. So this table called accounts was created. This is what it looks like. And now I'm going to open up my pgadmin to show you what we just did. So it takes a little bit of time for pgadmin to load up. And while it's loading up, I'm going to just go to my Neon dashboard and grab my connection string because this is a brand new, and I'm going to basically say show password, and I'm going to need this connection string for my pgadmin anyway. Always takes a bit of time for pgadmin to start. All right, so it's giving me that I'm using an old version, and that's not really important. Um, so within the servers right now, I mean, I have some, but they are not important. So I'm gonna get rid of that, and I need to register a new one. And I'm gonna just call it exam 2. You can give it really whatever name you want, but I just wanted you to call it exam 2. And then you're gonna go under connection and enter all this information. So for me, this is specific to mine. My username is neondb owner, and most likely yours will be the same because that's the default. I did not modify it in any way. So username is neondb owner. Then my password, it begins right after the colon and it ends just before the at symbol. So I'm going to put my password in here. And if it doesn't work for some reason, what you may want to do is paste your password first in something like Notepad. Because you want to just make sure it's right. Now for me, I need to make sure it begins with N, ends with capital C. And as I'm looking at it, yep, I did copy it correctly, but it's easy to make a mistake. Then the server name begins right here, EP. And it's going to go all the way to where it says neon.tech. And I'm going to copy it. So right after that at symbol, and I'm going to paste it right here. So that's the host name and address. Port is 5432, and you should leave it as that. And maintenance database, mine is called NeonDB. Database is NeonDB. In addition, I need to make sure I go under parameters and tell it that the SS mode is required. How do I know that? Because if I look at my connection string, it tells you SSL mode equals required. So now I have pretty much all the information I need in order to be able to connect to my database. So I'm going to go in and attempt to connect. And I do that by clicking on save. And I'm getting some sort of an error message telling me, nope, I wasn't able to connect to my database. So I'm going to see what the reason is, but it's most likely some sort of a password error. I need to figure out what it is. So if you, when you try to save it, if it gives you some sort of an error message, then it's a matter of trying to figure out, well, why is that happening? So I'm going to check everything now twice. There isn't really anything under general that I need to check. So I'm not gonna worry about that. And parameters also required, that's the way it's supposed to be. So it's all under connection that I have to really look and see. And number one possibility was password, but it could be something else like my username or this database name. Again, one, two, three, four possibilities. And as I look through this, I see in my username, I have a slash in there. Do I really need one? I'm going to go and double check. So I'm going to come here and my username is just neondb owner. like what they call role over here. That's who I am. There's no, yes, there is a slash, but you don't need that in your um, in here. Okay. So I'm gonna get rid of the slash. Try saving it one more time. And now I ended up with a successful connection. So once I have a successful connection, I'm going to open it, then open up my database. Then I'll make sure I go under Neon, not Postgres, not this one, but this one. And then I'm going to come down to schemas. And I have given you screenshots of all of this stuff. Once you're in schemas, you're public schemas, and then you're going to go into public, which is already expanded. Then you come down and you'll be able to see tables. So if I open up the tables right here, I see there is a table called accounts which was created, and the columns in there which I created are here. So account ID, name, account type, balance. And I'm gonna right click on this and I am not seeing the properties. Maybe my screen is too zoomed in. 1 second. So I want to click here. I am still not seeing what I'm looking for. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm gonna do it another way. Let me go back in. Okay. Yeah, and now I'm seeing it. So this is what I was looking for, properties. My screen was getting just cut off. So once I go in here, properties, you will see this is how we had originally created the tables when we were doing it manually. So what are the properties in here? We have an account ID, which is of type integer. And because it's what we call primary key, we want to make sure it's not null. Not null means it must be entered. And not only is it not null, but when we created it, it created something under the default, which we haven't done before. So if I go into my notes, and I have too many screens open right now. Okay, so this is how I created it. So I told it that I want you to create an account ID. And by saying I want it to be serial, that means I want it to be auto incremented. So you don't have to create a number ID. So this is saying I want it to be an integer and it's going to be a primary key. So we are now creating this using SQL language, programming language. Create table, the name is called accounts. You can call it whatever you want. So I can say create table, students, customers, inventory, whatever. So that's what this is. And again, I'm going to show you an example of this. I'm going to X out of this for a minute and try to enter data. So I'm going to enter data into my table. And you don't need to follow along with me. This is Not necessary. And by the way, this is not exam 2 anyway. So for me to enter data, account ID is an integer, it's a primary key. In the past, I was having you enter it, but now I'm not gonna have you do it. So let's just call this one assets. Account, actually, I made a mistake. So this should have been, let's say, something like cash. And it's a type of asset. And I'll just say for cash, I have a balance of $2,000 and 34 cents. So notice I did not enter an ID over here. When I save it, it adds an ID on its own. If I create another one and another one, whatever, ID will be created automatically. And that's happening because we said we wanted it to be of type integer. Serial was another way of saying integer which auto increments. So it's like saying two things at once. And we are telling it it should be a primary key. So we just created this. And then for balance, which is a currency amount, we set 10 comma 2. And I'm going to show it to you with PG admin now. So if I go and I look at the properties under column, look at balance. So balance, I'm saying it's a numeric data type over here, but I'm saying length is 10, and in here something called scale is 2. It basically, I'm saying 2 decimal places, and 10 would be the length of how long it would be. And for both of these, I'm not requiring that they be entered. So can I create something with just entering an account name but not account type and balance? Answer is yes. So I can go into my, I'm gonna again close out of this. I'm gonna create another one. Now I'm not gonna enter account ID. All I'm gonna enter is over here called accounts receivable. I'm not going to enter account type because it's not required. I'm not going to enter balance because it's not required. And just say this. Oh, sorry, right here. So it automatically created it with the ID, integer ID of 2. And these null is allowed. If I try to create another one, and I'll just leave this as null, but call this, let's say, liabilities. And I can even give it a decimal amount of 300.00. These are all not necessary. This is the only thing, the way I define my table, which is necessary. So when I try to save it, you will see this error. You cannot have null in here. So it's not going to let me save it unless I go in here and I enter a value. I'll just make something up. Accounts table. Now I ought to be save it, save successfully. So while we're using pgadmin, at this point, I want you to understand SQL. So that's what is happening here. This must not be null, but I don't say that in here. Here I said decimal 10.2. Basically, I'm telling it's a numeric type. And here varchar is another way of saying text or string. 20, length is 50. So I just created one table. And what I want to do now is, even though I created all this data, I really don't want any of it. So I'm going to just go here and here, here. I'm going to select these 3 rows and I'm just going to delete them. A line goes through it, I'm deleting it, and then I must save it. So now it's disappeared. Even though it has disappeared, if I try to create another one, and I'm going to just make one very quickly. I'll call it cash. Let's do something else, equipment. And you remember, I don't have to put these 2 in there. So what do you think the ID will be? Is it going to be now 1 again? Because, I deleted everything out. No, ID is not 1. ID is 5. So when it's generating an ID, in particular, if you have added rows, deleted rows, etc., it may not start off at 1, and that's okay. Whatever number, you just let it decide on its own. You don't worry about, oh, I have to make it 1 or 2 or 3. No, it may not necessarily go in order, and that's okay. Again, I want to really delete this, and then I'm going to save it. Now, this is an SQL query that I created. So now I'm going to go and look at it in the console. So if I go over here and I look at SQL editor, I had created this query and I did run it. Now what I want to do is save it. Okay. So I don't want it to be called untitled. I want to give it some sort of a name. And I would just say, create accounts or something like that. Create accounts table with basic financial details. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Or just create accounts table. And I'm going to save it. So on your end, you need to make sure that as you're going through this, you're able to save these queries in here. So if I need to, I'm not going to do this for every single student, but if I need to check on the work that you have done, so I'll be able to log in, and then I'm going to go to the SQL editor, and I would be able to see the query that you used to create it. But in general, what I want you to do is take screenshots. So This one, you don't need to take a screenshot because I provided you with this query. But what you do need to do is take a screenshot of the once you had run it. Now, if you try to run this twice right now, you're going to have a problem, and you'll see this. Look at it. I'm getting an error message because it already exists. So if something happens and you made a mistake the first time around, you created a table, uh, you're not going to be able to run the same query again. So what you then want to do is go back to your tables. Like I made some sort of a mistake in my accounts table. You can come in here and drop it. Drop means delete. Truncate means get rid of all the data. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to drop it. Drop basically is another way of saying you want to delete it. And now you'll see there's no table left. Now, if I want, I can go in here, back to my SQL editor, and I can run this again. And uh, again, notice that you had saved it, even though it's in here. So I can go in here, rename, delete if I need to, but this is really all correct. So I'm going to click on this and load it up. If you need to adjust, you can move it up and down. So when you do this, now again, we no longer have the accounts table, and I can prove it to you if I go to PG admin and I refresh my tables, it's not going to show one anymore. So now it's not showing any table anymore. There is a, why? I deleted this out. So this is gone now. So I can now recreate this table just by clicking run. And it ran, created a table, and I can make sure it's there by going under tables, and the account table is there. Now, again, through PG admin, I can also check, but before I do that, I need to make sure I refresh it. And now I see accounts table is back there. And I can look at the columns and all of that. It's all in there. Just like it was. And because we have recreated this table, now if I insert data in here, it will start at 1 because I had dropped it and created a brand new one. So I'm going to go now and do the next query. So we did this one. Now I'm going to go and take a look at this one. And I just want to make sure I stop right after the semicolon. I can copy it and I can paste it. Now you could paste it in here. How can you do that? We have an option up here, query tool. I could enter it in here and I can run it from here, but I want you to save it all on your Neon console. So I want you to do it through this one now, not through PG admin, but in here. So now we are creating a brand new one. So I'm gonna come in here, delete everything. and then I'm gonna paste it. So this is my second table. It's called transactions. And the transaction table, again, I'm creating transaction ID, serial, primary key, okay? Um, a date of the transaction. So this is like how you make a journal entry. Account ID, integer, something, references, which we'll talk about in a few minutes or next class, and accounts, account ID. And then I'm entering the amount and then a description. Uh, Basically, all we're doing is creating this table. So I'm going to say run, and it should create, it said successfully executed. It created a table for me. And now let me make sure I save this query. So I'm going to click save. It gives it a name. I'll just leave the full name, just, and I'll just click save. So when you're doing this, you will have created a list of everything, all the queries that you're typing in, you'll have a record of it in here. And I'm not going to go in and look at it for everyone, but I will look at it for on a random basis to make sure that you have actually done the work. In other words, when I'm asking you to create a PDF, well, let's say student Adam creates it, and the same one is given to student John. I don't want that happening. So that's why I'm saying I can go in and I will look at it, but I'm not going to be going in for every single student. I'm telling you that right now, but you are required to save it um, on this end. So I'll be able to grade the project by looking at the uh, Word document or PDF file that you're going to send me. But at the same time, you are required to maintain SQL history. And if you make a mistake on something, you can always delete it or rename it and recreate it. Okay. So just sort of keep in mind, this is how I'm going to be going through things. So we created the second table, and then if you come and look at tables, well, we have now uh, an accounts table, and we have a transactions table. This is the new one we just created. So with PG admin, if I refresh my tables, now I'll see I've got two tables in there, account and transactions. And the transactions table, that we created, you can see the properties. So we have this. Now, one of the things that we are doing is we're linking tables together. And this is the last item I'm going to cover for today. If you look at the second one, we said account ID of the type integer. So serial is really integer. References from the accounts table, account ID. So what we are doing is linking the two tables together using account ID. And that's a big part of this thing called referential integrity. And again, I'm not done with this. I will explain it in more detail. But because I have done that, this account ID value, which is of type integer, is linked to, let's go in here now. This account ID, which is of the type integer. The two of them are linked together. And let me just close this. And this is something, again, I'm going to cover in more detail. How do I know? Well, one, I entered it, but then look under, we have additional columns. So, so we have general columns. You don't need to worry too much about advanced, but under constraints, it's telling us that we have a primary key and what's called a foreign key. And it's in that foreign key that we are linking the two tables together. And there are other things that we can do in here, but you don't need to worry about it. You need to know primary and foreign key. So I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to go back into my notes. Just go under notes. So things that I want you to understand at a definition level. We have this thing called primary key and foreign key. It shouldn't really, that's what I really wanted to say in here, primary and foreign keys um, with referential integrity. Explains it in here. And once you understand this, maybe I really should move this up. Okay. So once you understand this a little bit, then we will go on and we're going to discuss how you join tables together. So we just did that through referential integrity. Then we're going to join tables together. That'll make sense. So in my next class, which will be not on Monday, but on Tuesday, we're going to just continue these two items. You can get started if you want on an exam too. Not mandatory, your choice if you want to get started. But again, the due date is shown on it, which I believe was November 2nd. Okay. So you have some time, almost 3 weeks to work on it. Any questions? Send it my way. Otherwise, you can disconnect.